Welcome back to Positively Horrid, the horror movie review podcast with a morbid affection for the macabre. With you always, and I'm your host and Space Marine Lieutenant Will Liam.
How many podcasts have you done, Will Liam?
38 simulated.
How many combat podcasts?
2, including this one.
Shit.
Man, that was a lot of work for a bad joke.
That's okay. I kind of liked it.
And with me, as always, is my co-host and 2-time feline xenomorph surviving ginger cat,
Meow.
Mandalene Olsen.
Until you said Ginger, I was like, yeah, I'm Ripley again. All right. Yeah. But no, then you said Ginger, and I was like, oh, I'm Jonesy.
Yeah, Jonesy makes it through 2 xenomorph encounters.
I know. No, well, he doesn't. He doesn't make it through 2 xenomorph encounters.
I count him choosing not to go.
He didn't choose not to go. Ripley left him at home. He's barely in that film.
That cat has...
I also like Jonesy, but he's barely in this movie. I'd rather be the ragamuffin little girl. I'm surprised
how much he was in this movie.
I'd rather be the ragamuffin little girl if we're going that route.
We have not said that this week's movie is 1986 sci-fi... I don't want to say thriller because I've made a bad word on this podcast. Action horror, which I think is a phrase we've used before.
We might have once or
Aliens.
Twice. Aliens.
Yeah, the end of The Descent I called an action horror.
Yes.
Which, you know what? Now I've thought about this, I think they're kind of similar. We said last week that we touched on a little bit that we're not totally sure whether this... I mean, it's not a horror movie for sure. I think there's a lot of horror elements that stayed in.
Correct.
I think it's arguably partially a war movie. I think it's almost its own blend. And like we said, it so really completes the story very well that... It was tough not to...
Yeah, it felt wrong to exclude it.
Yeah.
After doing Alien last week.
And it's not the weirdest one. I mean, not to stick on the AVP world, but like Predator's on the list. And, you know, I don't know that that's, say, a horror movie, but there's a couple other questionable ones.
I think Predators definitely counts. Having actually seen that one, I think that definitely for sure counts as a horror movie. I
don't even know that Jaws is a horror movie, so... We'll mess around with the genre, but the first one we're going to do with that is Aliens. So this is a movie.
Yes, it is a movie, the end.
It starts out very similar to Alien. You get a not quite as long, but a long opening sequence that's a new ship, but I think just not as much because they're not on it very long. Mm-hmm. In fact, we mostly just get where they wake up.
Basically.
But same theme music and just a kind of pan of the ship and a very slow, calm start, and everybody wakes up. No, I am.
You are skipping way ahead. You are. I was like, are you really? Like you're skipping all the way to the actual thing, like the actual.
Like when the movie starts for me.
Just because that's when the movie starts for you doesn't mean that that's when the movie starts.
But it's still...
The movie starts.
It does start with a slow...
With a slow pan of the ship that we are familiar with.
Yeah, well, yeah, the shuttle.
Yeah.
Which I believe I read is actually called the Nausicaa.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it starts with the model of the... Not a model, but like a shot of a model.
Yeah.
Of the shuttle from the first movie.
And it kind of sort of runs into another ship.
Yeah, bigger. You get another kind of like Star Wars style big ship sucking in a little ship. Mm-hmm. They open up the door.
Robot.
Yeah, Robot
looks around and does a scan of the room before people go in.
Yeah, well, we see that Ripley's there.
Yeah,
she's in
stasis.
Stasis, but the room's just covered in ice.
Ice.
Probably.
Yeah. Not definitely.
Yeah, which I guess maybe it was just residual atmosphere that froze once because I assume there's no life support outside the pod.
Yeah.
So it turns out they're a salvage crew, and now that since Ripley's alive, they can't salvage.
So they can't salvage what's hers because she's alive.
The company.
Yeah.
Which now I think right away we learn is Weyland-Yutani.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a name and kind of a face in Burke.
Yes.
It's Paul Reiser's character, and he like immediately steps in as kind of our stand-in for the company now. Mm-hmm. Which they still use that term a lot. They don't like to call it Weyland-Yutani.
Yeah. It's a lot of just the company.
They do the time first.
Well, they bring her into the med bay.
Right.
And...
But that's when Burke shows up with the cat.
Yeah. Well, Jonesy. I mean, they do, like, the general, like, looking her over, etc., and she, like, doesn't recognize anything. And then... She
says she doesn't know the station. They tell her she's at some way station.
Yeah. And then Burke comes in with Jonesy, is like, you two seem like you know each other. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Don't worry, the disorientation will wear off in a couple of days and seems to be fairly normal with stasis as long as yours has been. Like, wow. And then she's just like, excuse me?
Yeah, so Ripley has been in hypersleep for
57 years.
Yeah, so she drifted past, apparently, like, just through the solar system and then almost drifted back out.
But she did go out back to what they termed the outer reaches.
Yes, and just by pure luck got picked up by that salvage crew.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where Ripley starts freaking out.
Yeah.
She starts seeming to have a panic attack at first, maybe a heart attack later.
It did sort of seem more like a heart attack to me to start, just because of the way that she was gripping at her chest.
And then she starts... This is where they start the iconic line throughout the rest of the movies, the kill me line when you start feeling the face hugger, or the chest burster worming its way inside you. And she lifts up her, medical staff come in, they're all holding her down. She lifts her shirt up and sees the gross inside moving.
Yep.
Which is the first thing, the effects in the last movie were so good. The effects in this one were just... Because, clearly they had a budget to do what they want. Not that Alien wasn't what they wanted, but to, really... Because you don't see a lot of the monster in the first one.
Yeah.
Because they're limited. And in this one, they're like, nah, you get to see...
So much.
Dozens of them.
Yes.
But they cut away before it explodes out of her chest, and it was a nightmare.
Yep. That was your typical PTSD-fueled nightmare.
Yeah. And quick talk with the nurse on a camera. She's like, nightmares again, establishing that this has been a regular occurrence for her.
Mm-hmm. The nurse asks if she wants anything to help her sleep, and she's like, I think I've slept long enough. Then it cuts to...
She's in that weird little fake park.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
With, it's a bunch of fake trees.
I loved the fake park.
I know, it was so,
I thought it was great.
80s sci-fi, but it was, just
it was
pure...
neat.
Yeah, I liked it. It was a fake screen with a park picture on it, and then a sitting area
a whole bunch of fake plants and stuff. But if you notice that her hair was moving with it too, so they must have had a breeze going to make it feel more real, which I loved. Because being out in space for an extended period of time, you'll get stir crazy without flora around you.
Yeah.
So, it was very good. And then Burke comes in.
Mm-hmm. In his first dickish move, I think, because she's like, did you find out about my daughter? Which is the first, I believe, that we've ever heard of that.
Yes, it is.
And Burke just he knows her daughter's dead.
He completely brushes it off and
goes, we have to worry about your deposition.
Yeah.
Which was, I forgot how smarmy he goes so fast.
Yeah.
But they find out that Ripley's daughter died. She was 68.
Yes.
And so she's lived a whole life. I don't think she had kids, right?
She did not have kids, but she did have a married name.
That's right. She had a different last name.
It was hyphenated.
Oh, nothing.
Yeah. And she lived a full life. She was married. She grew up. They did not seem to know that she had kids, because that was mentioned, is that she did not have any surviving relatives of which to speak. She passed away when she was 68 years old, and Burke had a photograph of her, and
really crappy
Ripley 80s. Ripley starts to freak out because she had promised her daughter that she'd be back in time for her 11th birthday, and because she was in stasis for 57 years, she missed out on watching her daughter get to grow up. Just completely lost all of that.
Yeah, which it's so weird because it's not me or my daughter. It's not as, it doesn't hit you as, it's not like, oh, your young daughter died. Oh, she lived a whole life. Oh, it's kind of fine. But to Ripley, she did. She just woke up and just found out her daughter died.
Yeah.
And even though in reality, it's not like her 11-year-old daughter was just murdered.
Right.
But she might as well have as far
exactly.
as she is. And fucking Sigourney Weaver just loses it.
She loses it
so well.
And like I totally
yeah, it wasn't like overacting.
No, it was beautiful. But like I don't plan on ever having children, but I have a very maternal instinct.
Mm-hmm.
So to like I mean, I'll mention later on like my initial reaction to the character Newt later was like exactly I need to save this child. Like I totally understand just the shocking realization that someone so close to you that you loved and cared about, and like this was supposed to just be like a short little trip, and her entire world got completely turned upside down by this. And one of the things that I think is interesting to mention is that she doesn't ever mention her daughter's father at all. It doesn't seem like he's in the picture. So not only did she just lose her daughter, but it seems like she lost the only relative that she had left on the planet.
Yeah.
Like the only person that she was, living for and doing this for. That's huge.
And it's interesting because I fully believe they didn't plan none of this was ready when they finished Alien. Like they
I believe it.
Ripley's
fully
character
believe it.
didn't have a daughter, but I almost like it. There were 6 people on that ship.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, I bet a lot of them had. I mean, they're like truckers and like probably equivalent to like long haul fishermen and stuff.
Yeah.
So they probably all have like disrupted
families and.
Well, I bet they all have like a bunch of ex-wives and like, step-kids or like strange kids. Like I know the type.
Yeah.
But like. None of them were like, oh, I gotta get off this ship back to my family. Like, it was very real that they were like, we need to survive.
Yes.
And so I don't think it hurts it that they just introduced this plot point. Like,
here.
Yeah, it was just very...
It makes sense that now that she's not in the fight or flight response, she's worrying about the other things around her. It's like, what is it, the pyramid of needs thing in psychology? Like, once your basic survival needs are met, then you can start focusing on, like, the other things around you, like the fulfilling things, the family connections, etc. And so, like, now that she's not in that situation where her immediate life is in danger anymore, she can really pull out that, like, oh God, what happened to my daughter?
Yeah. So they go to a boardroom meeting / hearing, even though, I mean, I guess it was just like a corporate hearing. Again, there's no, like, government almost, aside from later on there's a military, but there's no, like, it's still that world where just the corporation, the company owns everything.
Basically.
And this is a horror movie trope. Ripley fought a monster and is now trying to explain, like, for all intents and purposes, a supernatural monster, because this thing shouldn't exist.
Did you just say all intensive purposes?
All intents and purposes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, continue.
Is a supernatural monster that shouldn't exist, and these people are just brushing it off like she's a crazy person.
Yeah.
And so I think that
they are implying to her that she sabotaged her own ship.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like reasons unknown.
For reasons unknown, you did this thing, and you're the only survivor, and for reasons unknown, blah, 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 blah.
Which, this is kind of headcanon-y, but like I was trying to figure out why they were being such a dick to her, because the company knows why. Maybe not the people in that room, but the company sent them to LV-426.
Yep.
And it's because they need to discredit her.
It's true.
If she came back as like a sane pilot who had this story, then that's a risk to them. If they can just play her off as like a crazy person who got fired, then no one will believe her.
Exactly. And it'll also, maintain the company and their status, I guess. Because it wouldn't be a PR disaster if it came out that they did literally 57 years ago send off this crew specifically with the point of getting this creature back to Earth for study and weaponization,
which is
with complete neglect for the crew on board.
Something like, she finds out that she's like, why don't you go look at LV-426? And they're like, we don't have to. They're colonizing it.
Mm-hmm.
They're terraforming it. It takes decades, but they're gonna make it a livable place. There's already 70 families that live there.
Mm-hmm.
And Ripley's like, families, fuck.
Families. I just found out that my daughter's dead, and now I have to find out that there are families with children living on this planet where these monsters are. You have no idea.
Well, and then we get to we watch the special edition, or one of the special editions, and that cuts to a scene of a bunch of workers inside the Hadley's Hope facility,
mm-hmm.
and families, and kind of like people in like suits and ties, and I think that's another check for a horror movie, because there's almost another movie out there where it's those people in that, like, I don't know, week period,
mm-hmm. where everything goes wrong for them.
Yeah, they're slowly getting like, basically it's Alien again, but times 70.
Yeah.
So I think that's another touch. That scene also establishes that someone told them to go check out the grid site. Well, they don't know what it is. They just want to go to a site.
Yeah, where there's potentially salvage there.
Which we find out later. I don't know that the company did any of the bad stuff this time around. I think it might have just been Burke.
I think you're right.
With that deleted scene, because the company didn't do it. We find out later Burke asked someone to go see what was there only after Ripley tells them where it is.
Yeah.
I mean, he's, again, the face of...
he is the face of the corruption in the company.
Yeah.
For sure.
Of capitalism.
Yeah, stupid capitalism.
So, time goes by, because like I gave it like a week, because she gets a job, they hint at it, and it takes some time to lose contact with he probably says, but I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I don't think they do say, actually.
No, I think he says, this is Lieutenant Gorman, and she slams the door on him.
Yep.
And then she opens it again, and he's like, we lost contact with LV-426. Literally, like, as far as the movie's concerned, like, 5 minutes later.
Basically, yeah.
She's like, everyone there is going to die. Like, you're crazy. So, everyone died. Which they don't know, but Ripley knows they're all dead.
Yeah.
And they want Ripley to go with them as an advisor. Just in case, they cut like, quote unquote, just in case.
Just in case there's actually this species there that you mentioned.
This is also because they end up bringing, Gorman's there because he leads a squad of colonial marines. Mm-hmm. And Burke's like, you'll be fine. It won't be like before. Like, these are trained soldiers. They have weapons. Like, it'll be fine.
They will protect you. It'll be okay.
Ripley's like, no, they won't.
And she basically shuts them straight the fuck down.
Yeah, that's right. And then she has another nightmare, and that's
when she's like, okay, I'll do it.
Is that Survivor story, which we didn't. I mean, no matter how you look at it, that's what she has. Mm-hmm. But it's also that it's a horror movie trope and a survival, like that she needs to go back to face this to ever be okay.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter if she brings soldiers and people with guns, because this is a horror movie monster and it's going to kill anything that tries to fight it.
Yep.
So I don't know, I liked that, but she agrees to go because she has to face this, because it's not going to stop.
And then we get to the part where you were talking about.
And then the movie starts. And we meet the crew of the Sulaco. I fucking love the Space Marines, and
they're all so good.
They're so, like
they're terrible, but they're good.
No, I think they're all.
Some of them are assholes that I do not like.
It's mostly Hudson.
It's not just like the ones whose names I forget because they die first are gross.
Dietrich, Crow, Frost. Where's Bowski?
Did
you not memorize all the Space
No,
Marines?
I didn't.
Because you didn't have friends when you were in grade school. You would just rent Aliens and Terminator 2 and watch it on a Friday night. Oh, I've made
that. That sounds like a you problem.
Why is it a problem?
I had friends when I was that age.
Oh, I had friends. I just named them all.
Anyhow, so.
Yeah, they are again not. You can't call it tropey because they basically
made the tropes.
Invented this, but they're oozing the tropiest trope of all military sci-fi to ever come from. Like, it's another so iconic cliche, testosterone powered. Even Vasquez, who is a female character.
Well, she's not the only female character, but all of the female characters also have the military haircuts and are fucking ripped.
Yeah, I forget. I think it's Frost is the medic, and I forget that she's a woman a lot. Mm-hmm. But not like she's not unattractive.
It's just one of those, like
they're Tony Stark in the Humvee, like, Jesus, I didn't realize you were a woman.
Yeah, it's one of those things where they're just like so androgynous because they're just all soldiers.
Yeah, well, they're Marines. Oh, they have they eat breakfast, hyper sleep, which is just a great scene of great lines. And
who's Snow White?
Oh yeah, well that's I think Royce and Frost, the other two females.
Well, it's Vasquez is talking about...
That's right, it's Vasquez and Royce.
Yeah, Vasquez is talking about Ripley, and it's like, oh, who's Snow White?
She's like, she saw an alien.
Yeah, she saw an alien. She's here is some kind of...
Well, what...
consultant.
If we want to get in, they, all the characters that play Marines did, like, full boot camp. Like,
is that why Vasquez is so fucking ripped?
Yeah, that's why they all are. And they also, which is a very common thing for like war movies, they did it together, and that scene they shot last of the movie.
Oh my goodness.
So by the time they're filming that, these people have been friends for, I don't know, it's like 4 weeks or whatever for boot camp, and they filmed the whole movie. They've gone through so much together that
and
that's
so now
why
they're just pals, and like it's just such a natural banter and palling around. I loved it.
They also didn't have Burke, Gorman, or Ripley do anything.
Yeah.
So they'd specifically be alienated.
Mm-hmm. You said the thing.
So yeah, they're eating. Just...
now I'm sad.
Why?
Because they're the only ones that don't get alienated by the end.
Well, no. Hicks spoilies. Hicks.
Oh
lives.
yeah, that's true. Hicks does live.
We meet Bishop, who plays Five Finger Fillet with Bill Paxton's hand and his hand, and does a superhuman stabby stab between the fingers.
And it turns out it's superhuman because he is superhuman, because he's not a human.
He bleeds milk.
And milk.
Bishop is Lance Hendrickson. I love Lance Hendrickson.
Milk. Ugh.
And Ripley finds out that he's a synthetic, or a artificial persons is what he prefers.
Something like that. Artificial being.
And she freaks out because obviously she was physically and mildly sexually assaulted by one.
Yep.
And Bishop he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, he doesn't have a reaction.
Yeah, he's mostly just like, oh, well, what? It must have been an old model.
Yeah, he's like, what model is it? Oh, I physically cannot allow a human to be harmed by action or inaction.
Because I have an inhibitor chip that prevents me from doing such a thing.
They load up. Ripley gives a little... She can drive a space forklift.
Yeah. Which is awesome.
Gives Apone and Hicks, I don't know what you call little testosterone boners.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because they're like, yeah, sure, why don't you use the space forklift? Oh, shit.
Oh, damn, I didn't think you'd actually be able to do it. Ugh. And she's just like, where you want this? Mm-hmm. And they're just like, oh, fuck. Okay, yeah, over.
Bay 3, please.
Bay 3, yeah, wow.
Drop. Bill Paxton does another testosterone-fueled speech. Mm-hmm. And then they get down to Hadley's Hope. And everyone is gone. The place is destroyed. Planet's very similar, but they can breathe now. Yep. Still a wind planet.
It's still a wind planet. Now that there's atmosphere, there's rain.
Yeah.
It's still rocky as fuck.
They find some acid holes. Mm-hmm. Where they're like, oh, somebody bagged one of Ripley's bad guys.
Yep. I guess they actually exist.
They were never that undoubting. The Marines were the most ready to believe her.
Yeah.
And also, we kind of skipped over because we talked a little bit last week about whether they knew any kind of alien exists. Mm-hmm. Because in the boardroom meeting, the one woman in the room points out that in, 30 planets, she says, or something, they've never encountered a creature like this.
Yeah.
But she also calls it indigenous, and that's when Ripley's like, no, you fucking idiots.
You're an idiot. It's not indigenous. It was brought there by something else.
But Vasquez asked if this, I think Vasquez or Hudson asks if this is going to be a straight fight or a bug hunt.
bug hunt.
And they never get into, like...
What a bug hunt is.
Like, are they... I assume headcanon is that they fought other, like, unintelligent...
Indigenous
monsters.
life forms.
Yeah. Like, you know, there's big lizards on LV-333 that they've had to fight or something.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, I thought it was...
I loved it. I thought it was great.
And they want to fight people, I guess. So anyway, yeah.
Something intelligent.
They're going around Hadley's Hope. They find a hamster.
Bunch of hamsters.
Little hamster colony doing fine.
Doing okay. Which further supports my theory that...
aliens don't kill fuzzies.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's no one there. There's no bodies of any kind.
Yep. Nothing. Until...
Well, I think that's the first time they're like, it's secure, let's move in. And Ripley's like, it's not goddamn secure, stop saying stuff, Gorman. Yeah, and then they find all the colonizers. All the colonizers.
Coloners.
Have tracking devices, and they realize that they're all in one place underneath the, like, nuclear reactors.
Do they find you first or after?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because I thought that they were
After.
still in...
Yeah, you're correct. They pick her up, I think, on the motion tracker.
Yeah.
And then they almost shoot her. Hicks stops Vasquez from shooting her.
Yeah.
And then
they take her back, and then they're like, oh, all of these people have yada yada.
Yeah, because she's in the armored transport, Newt is. So yeah, they send the Marines down to find out where all the colonizers are. And for one thing, Ripley's been helping them with the blueprints, because she's just a competent female character.
Yep.
She points out that those are nuclear reactors, and she's like, what kind of ammunition do your men use? And it's armor-piercing rounds. So she's like, if that hits a reactor, that's going to blow up this facility. And
all of us are gonna die.
Yeah, so... And
so then they're just like, shit, okay. All of your rounds, give it to Apone immediately.
Yeah, so small arms and incinerator units only. Mm-hmm. Which he also... I mean, I guess when you're a Marine, you don't have to explain yourself to your troops, but giving a reason might have been a good idea, because they're all like, well, why the fuck can't we have guns?
Yeah.
And then Vasquez and Drake don't listen, which never haunts them, but could have.
Basically. It very well could have.
So the whole place looks like the inside of an alien. They've terraformed it themselves.
It is
like
gross and creepy and like it just looks like bones on the inside, but like spooky. It, honest to goodness, it reminded me of the inside of Moya.
Yeah,
on
like
Farscape.
A nightmare Moya.
Yeah, except like dark and disgusting and like dripping with corn syrup.
They also, I forgot to look, because later on the aliens are the walls too, like they're resting, and I forgot to look beforehand how long those...
Yeah, I think they were there for a long time, honestly.
They find one of the colonizers, and she looks dead, and then she opens her eyes, and she also gives a kill me, and then chestburster pops out. And so they set her on fire. I mean, she was already dead.
Yeah, from the chestburster.
And then the aliens attack. Now that there's a threat. I guess they got kind of Borgy. They were fine until...
I think they were all resting from... Like the one did in Alien. They were resting after a hunt.
Yeah, but I'm like...
And then there was something that was in there that was an active threat to them. And
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and they were like, well, shit, now I guess now that we have more people here... It wasn't like once they like realized, they woke up and they were like, oh fuck, more people.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm like. Hornet's nest. If you ever see them at like sundown, they're all asleep. But if you poke it, they will wake the fuck up. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think that's just because they do kill. I think just it's not their instinct to like rip apart. So if you're still alive after, that's when they start entombing you.
Yeah.
Like a wasp, because wasps are nightmare creatures.
They are.
Yeah, and everything just goes to shit. The Marines were not ready for horrible acrobatic monsters to leap down from the ceiling and grab you. And, they don't have guns aside from the two machine gunners who start opening fire. The guy who had the bag with all the explosive ammo gets set on fire. Mm-hmm. And so that explodes and kills mostly everyone.
Yeah.
Except for
Vasquez,
Drake, Hicks, and Hudson.
Yeah.
But they're trapped. They don't have a way out. Everybody's dead. Everybody else is dead. And Gorman doesn't know what he's doing and freaks out and panics. And Ripley says, "Fuck this! I am a competent female character."
And then just gets the fuck.
They've been commanding from
shit done.
A tank, an 80s tank.
Mm-hmm.
And it just fucking drives into the facility they're at, rams the wall open, and gets the
Marines
Marines
out. Come on, move in.
They get in, but not before Drake gets covered in acid and dies. Who
Yes.
Vasquez's man? I assume they were together.
I mean, that was my assumption as well, but regardless of the capacity in which they were together, it was clear that they had a special relationship of some kind.
I know that.
Because she was very broken up about him.
I was talking to someone not that recently, and they were like, "Oh yeah, they were like the best friends," and I was like, "You don't think they were like
fucking
in love?" Well, I definitely think they were fucking. Yeah, Drake dies, so now we have 3 Marines. Gorman's got knocked unconscious when Ripley plowed through the wall.
Mm-hmm. He's incompetent anyway.
Yeah, I forgot he existed for a while after he gets knocked out.
And then I was like, who's that guy with the headband? Oh, shit, right, yeah.
Gorman's alive.
Gorman.
I like him because of the end, but we'll get there. So they're like, we got fucked. We can't fight these things. This place is fucked. They want to nerve gas it, but they're not sure that that'll do anything. And that's when Ripley's like, we need to just leave and nuke the site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. Mm-hmm. Burke's like, well, hold on.
We have all millions of dollars that we
This facility has a significant dollar value.
The company has invested millions of dollars into this particular facility, and it would be improper to just destroy it all.
Do you think he was worried, well, it's probably both, but specifically about the millions or billions of dollars worth of this facility, or that he has not yet obtained his alien yet?
All of the above.
Yeah, okay.
I think that the millions of dollars is a good excuse that he can pull out as being...
Or do you think he has some inside information about why the science division wanted this thing from the first movie, and so he's kind of... I mean, he's clearly out it for himself. Yeah. But I think he knows...
Well, I think he has heard all of Ripley's story. Mm-hmm. So whether or not he has the inside information about why, he knows that the science division did want one. Yeah. And thinks that he can capitalist his way around that kind of a situation if he has one. Right. I think that he went... specifically to acquire one.
Oh yeah,
for profit, 1,000%. For profit for himself,
and probably to cover up the fact that he sent the original people there to the ship, the alien ship.
Yeah, exactly.
Without telling anyone. Mm-hmm. So Hicks is in charge. So he says, "Fuck you! We're gonna take off and nuke the site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure." Yep. Which was the first meet cute of Ripley and Hicks. Yes. When they both decide to use nuclear weapons. Mm-hmm.
It was adorable.
But, unfortunately, the dropship had been landed. While they're getting inside, they find a puddle of goop, which, guys, can't ignore that goop puddle.
You can never ignore the goop puddle. If somebody says, hey, there's something going on here, you check that shit out.
Yeah, so...
You don't just shut it up and then zoom off. Fuck.
So Spunkmeyer and Royce get killed.
So terribly ganked.
And crash the ship into the APC, so they lose both. Yep. And now they don't have a way off the planet. Yep. They're trapped there. Ripley, in a great... While Bill Paxton's character is freaking out, Ripley points out that an 11-year-old girl here survived. Oh, they figure out, 6 weeks or 4 weeks?
17 days.
Is it 17? I was like, the company will give you 6 weeks. Yeah. In 17 days, if the Marines do not report back, they will send another mission to come find them. That seems impossible. They didn't survive one day, but Newt had been there for longer than that, all by herself. So
without as many worldly attachments, as it turns out.
So they decide just to hunker down, and they're gonna reset up some of the barricades that the colonists had set up. Mm-hmm.
And they have a couple of big old machine gun turrets.
Apparently is also a deleted scene, but I liked it.
Oh, I loved that. Guns. I didn't realize that was
that's not in the theatrical release. Huh. Where they were testing the defenses. Mm-hmm. And so they set up these sentry guns that automatically just shoot anything that moves. And the aliens just keep coming at one of them, until they're out of ammo, and then they're at that fucking wall. And then they try another, because they had 2 easy ways in and then a bunch of hard ones. And the 2 easy ones had the guns. And then the second set of guns starts going off, and they're down to their last bit of ammo. The Marines are like, fuck it, let's go fight. But Ripley points out that the aliens stopped.
And then they realize that because they have turned around, they will probably not try that way anytime soon. And they're going to be taking some time to look for another way in.
Right. Also, I think that's where we get the Queen foreshadowing.
Oh, yes, too. Yes, that too.
Yeah, because they're trying to figure out why these things are smarter than a bug.
Yeah.
And they show, and also that there needs to be more of them. Something's laying eggs. So they're like, what could possibly be laying the eggs? Like, how can there be so many? There was an egg there for at least 100 colonists. Like, who's laying all these eggs? Well, also there's all these aliens. They had to all come from a colonist.
Yes,
because that's how they work. So yeah, Hudson, the dumbest character, posits that maybe there's a queen, like an ant hive.
Yep. I mean, admittedly, there is a queen in an ant hive.
And a beehive. And in both cases, the queen is the one who lays all the eggs. Yeah.
So he's not totally off. Bees that have hives, you moron.
Oh, also the colonists did manage to grab them some facehuggers.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, 2 of them were alive. They killed the colonists trying to remove them. Bishop's, because he's a robot, has been taking a look at him, because that's what he do.
Yep. And so they go to sleep at that point. Well, I know Ripley puts Newt to bed, and they have that really sweet moment.
Yes, and she also puts her to bed, and then that's when Bishop, I believe, shows her and Hicks that the core of the terraforming plant is overheating.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So they can't catch, because they've established that if the aliens don't try that same way again, then they'll be safe for a while, and that's when Bishop's like, well,
only for a certain amount of time, because the plant is overheating. So that's
also, like, one of my favorite lines is Hicks, how long do we have? Like, he's just like, yeah, that's been today. Cool.
And so they're like, well, it's only gonna be, well, you're definitely not gonna last the 16 days that you need left.
They need off. And there's another dropship on the Sulaco up in orbit. And they don't have a way to contact it. Bishop points out that he could go to this faraway facility that's connected through this horrible tiny pipe and bring down the other dropship. And I like that he's like, I don't want to die. I value my robot life, but somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it. And
my other favorite, they cut open this pipe, and then Vasquez hands him a gun, and then he immediately hands it to Hicks with the. I love that Lance Hendricks acting of just like, oop, like, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah.
I can't use this, right? Which I wonder if he could shoot an alien.
I don't know.
I bet he wouldn't want to. You almost get the feeling he'd rather just be disassimilated than to kill a living thing.
It's true.
Because he's not like Ash.
No, he's not. Not at all. That inhibitor chip does wonders.
Yeah.
Tell you that.
So yeah, they send Bishop off.
Crawly. I hate that part.
I know, it's so claustrophobic.
It's so claustrophobic because he just barely fits crawling through.
And it's just that weird close up of Lance Hendrickson's weird face.
Yeah.
Ripley, I believe, then goes back to check on Newt and finds her and Hicks have that really cute thing where he teaches her how to shoot.
Yeah, that was really good. Oh, they like each other so much. I like it a lot. They're so good together.
She goes back to check on Newt, finds the 2 living facehugger tubes smashed on the ground.
And it's just like, shit.
So as soon as she goes in, the door locks behind her. So now her and Newt are trapped in this room with facehuggers. I think she immediately knows that Burke did it.
Oh, of course she does.
I also think Gorman's woke. That character everyone forgot about is walking around again.
Yeah, he woke up.
He's and I was like, hey guys.
I was like, who's this guy with the
who's Bandage Man?
Oh shit. Yeah, that's right. The guy that got a concussion and just disappeared from half the movie.
They can't break out of the glass windows because they're like plexiglass, or like blast, whatever it's called. Shatterproof.
They're shatterproof.
And in another competent female character move, just puts her lighter up to the fire alarm and sets it off.
So that everybody can actually know that something's wrong down there and goes immediately to check it out.
Fucking Hicks has him shoot the glass and then just jumps through face first of like shattering glass to save his new girlfriend.
Yep.
And yeah, they fuck up the face huggers after another very horror movie fight. You know, it's red light. It's like a dark room with like that emergency lighting. And they can't really fight them off, and they're creepy monsters that are with their little proboscis.
Ugh. And they're after the two girls. I don't like it.
So, but yeah, they stop them, and that's when Ripley's like, fucking Burke did this. They'd already had to talk about getting those face huggers back, and Ripley told him to fuck off.
Yeah.
And so Ripley realized that Burke was just going to put the eggs inside of her and Newt, take them back, and then kill the Marines while they were in stasis.
Yep. And she tells everyone that with Burke in the room, and he was like, now hold on, guys.
So the Marines are just going to... I forget why they don't just fucking kill him. I think the aliens come back.
Yeah.
Because they were just going to
They were just going to destroy the heck out of him, but then...
The motion sensor
sensors go off, and they're like, they're coming.
And the thing that I, like, remember as a child is, like, I don't know, there's always the scene that stuck out is that, like, the anxiety-inducing machine they have, which is the motion sensor, which is the...
It beeps higher. It beeps higher the closer it gets. So it's like...
And it's just, like, dozens of blips on it. And by the time they get... they should be in the room. They're not seeing them. Hicks looks up through the ceiling, and it's just a pile of fucking aliens. And then they start breaking through into the room. I don't know if you caught this. I didn't, I think, until this viewing. One of those dudes in the alien suits fucking parkours, like, over a table.
Holy shit.
But, like, it looks so, like, because it's tough for them to be as mobile as, like, you think they want them to be. But one of those extras was, like, super acrobatic.
Damn.
It was very cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
but immediately, Burke runs away.
Yes,
and locks the door behind him.
Hicks dies. Or not Hicks. Hudson. Bill Paxton dies. He was annoying. But
he was great. And he has the most iconic line that I've heard quoted most often. Game over, man. Game over.
That's Hudson.
Hudson.
But they start following Burke, but they have to weld open the locks to get after him. Burke just runs into a vengeance alien. Yep. A comeuppance alien.
Yep. That's just like, surprise! I used the back door.
This is for Jonesy.
No!
Newt is like, fuck this, let's use the air vents. I know how they work. And they just, into the garbage suit flyboy. Yep. They're following after him. The aliens are breaking through.
Vasquez is just like shooting all of them.
Yeah, just murdering the
just
shit
like,
out of people.
Go.
But one of them falls on her.
Yeah.
And then she shoots the shit out of it, but
she fights it too. Yeah. She like kicks it in the face and shit.
But it melts her foot off because of acid blood.
Yep.
Newt's booking it. Ripley's trying to catch up with her. Hicks is trying to catch up with Ripley. Gorman's like, I will get Vasquez. Just get out of here. He sees Vasquez lying on the ground inside the vent. He grabs her. He starts shooting. He's out of ammo. Another alien bursts up through the floor, blocking them in. And Gorman just pulls out a grenade. Vasquez says, you always were a dick. Or an asshole. And then they blow themselves up together. It's such a
sweet moment.
Yeah, they all put their hands on the grenade and shit. I don't know.
It was sweet.
I liked Gorman after he died.
I liked Gorman a lot. I just think that he was way too green for the mission that he was sent on.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, none of that should have been there.
Yeah, it's true.
But he also, just only had 2 combat drops.
I know.
Ripley and Newt and Hicks are all in this weird water wall machine room.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what that was supposed to be.
Yeah, because it didn't. Once they stepped on it, it stopped turning, so it didn't do anything. Just one of those, decorative inside the wall setups. But
it's got to have some use.
Once the grenade goes off, everything shakes and Newt falls into a creepy sewer.
Down the shaft thing, down into the creepy sewer.
Yes, that's right. They used the tracker to find her. They start welding through the floor. An alien gets her in like a really cool full body shot that we don't get a lot of, and grabs her. And Ripley won't leave. And she's like, she's still alive. They don't kill you. And Hicks is like, it's fine, but we need to leave. Like, not in like a she's gone. He's like, she's alive, but we can't be here if you're gonna save her. They get to the drop ship. No, Hicks gets fucking acided too.
He does.
Which, with the alien's favorite move, grabbing a elevator door at the last minute.
Yeah.
This is maybe the third time they've done that.
They do love doing that.
Yeah, well, they get their face in there and they're like, do it now! They get back to the dropship. Bishop's there. He's like, we got plenty of time. We can leave. We got 17 minutes. And Ripley's like, I'm going back. And he's like, oh, I hate humans. So they put Hicks. Hicks is fucked up from the acid. Yeah. He can't do anything.
Although, I will mention, I did say specifically, this gave them a reason to take off his shirt.
Yeah, it gets melted.
Because the acid starts to melt through his armor, and so he and Ripley are just in the elevator, and he's just like, ah! Get it off, get it off, get it off, get it off, get it off.
Yeah, real sexy third-degree burns had there.
Mm-hmm. So good.
Ripley takes a bunch of grenades, she takes a machine gun and a flamethrower and tapes them together to make a super gun, and goes after Newt.
Using the tracker.
Yes, and she finds Newt, saves her from a facehugger, and then she realizes that she's in a room full of fucking eggs and a gross, gross monster butt laying eggs. Yeah, it's the queen.
The queen.
Ripley starts to back out, the queen wakes up, and there's a really cool moment where, because a bunch of aliens start coming in from the sides, and then Ripley fires off her flamethrower and then points it at the eggs.
And is like, if you come at me and my daughter, I will hurt your children too.
Which is cool because it establishes that, I mean, later on, I think, in most of the comics, the aliens have a loose psychic connection to each other, or at least to the queen, and that's how she commands them. But yeah, they back off because she tells them to.
Yeah, which is neat.
Except that, you'd think she controlled that egg?
Which egg?
An egg opens up next to Ripley as they're leaving, and Ripley, I thought, gave a look like, really, bitch?
It's possible. Like, I don't know.
The way I saw that scene, I don't know if she controls the eggs.
I mean, I definitely read it as like an, are you fucking kidding me? Regardless of whether or not the queen actually had control over it.
Yeah, like Ripley's face read like, we had a deal, fuck you. And that's when she sets all the eggs on fire. Yep. And then throws grenades into them.
And it's just like, fine, bitch.
And the queen freaks the fuck out, rips off her gross butt. And
egg sack.
Yeah, gross butt.
Egg sack.
Egg just comes charging at Ripley. She gets onto an elevator, and another elevator comes down, and somehow the queen's like, oh, I figured this out.
And then gets on the other side of the elevator.
I guess knows what floor Ripley's going to.
I guess.
Ripley gets up there, Bishop's gone.
It's probably all the way to the top, honestly.
Yeah, there's probably just one floor.
Well, it was 28.
Well, then the queen shouldn't know what floor to go to.
Well, it's probably all the way to the top.
Well, yeah, but she probably has like a doorman alien.
Maybe
that
that's why.
It for her,
maybe that's why it took her so much longer to get up there. Is she's checking them all.
Where's my corgi? Bishop comes back. The queen comes out of the elevator, but Ripley gets onto the dropship in time. You know, barring a little turbulence, everybody's fine.
And they get back to the main ship.
Yeah, to
A-okay.
Sulaco, and they're all having a little moment.
It's very good,
Hicks
and it's
is
like,
asleep.
it's awesome because it's like, it's the daddy and the mommy and the 11-year-old girl
Robot.
and Uncle Robot.
And then a thing fires out of Bishop's chest, which I kind of like because you even asked that, like, do I think an alien could host inside of an android? Which I don't think they could, but it looks like a chest burster at first. But then it turns out it's the queen's tail, and then she fucking eviscerates him in, like...
Straight in half.
I wish they had done that to it. I bet if they did, they wouldn't have let them be an R rating. Because it was so real. Like, it didn't look like a dummy, and it was all practical.
It was amazing.
But it's just white milk goo instead of guts.
Yeah.
Which is better, I guess.
Yeah.
Ripley tells Newt to run, and then Ripley runs, and then... the alien queen's like, well, fuck you, I'll kill your daughter, and goes back after Newt. gets close. I like
really close.
I know how this movie ends, and I was like, oh, get out.
Get out. Newt, why do you always hide like this?
Because, like, as...
No.
And then Ripley comes out in the Walker forklift.
Which was so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And I knew going into this that the happy ending was not actually the happy ending because I had not seen the scene with the epic forklift battle yet. And I was like, it's not over.
Yeah.
And I was like, I knew it was. I thought it wasn't over.
It's
because
so
of that. It was so fucking good.
Good, and like as much as like you can go back and still watch the first Jurassic Park now and be like, these effects are fucking phenomenal because it's a robot dinosaur. That fight was great. Like
that fight was amazing.
Shitty. It doesn't look.
No, it was so realistic
and just all real. Like,
I'm so impressed.
And like with
it's so beautiful.
Alien, like I had seen this at such a young age that it was just kind of always in my life. I was trying to separate being like a moviegoer who like a sci-fi nerd in '86 and being like, what the fuck is happening? There's a lady in a robot suit fighting an alien. What the fuck? It looks so good.
It's a kaiju mecha battle and I love it.
Like I would have only ever seen like claymation before that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was.
It's so good.
Long story short, Ripley was just gonna drop that
out
bitch
the airlock.
Out the airlock. Like
out the airlock.
Ripley's go-to plan.
Well, that's how you get rid of these things. You can't fucking kill them. Technically, you can, but.
Yeah, the acid blood was not as big a problem when they weren't in space.
Yeah, and now that they're in space again.
Yeah.
So the airlock.
Yeah, she drops her. The queen grabs the robot suit and
it's just like, if I'm going down, you're going down with me, bitch.
Yes, Ripley's like, it's fine, and opens the airlock. And the queen grabs her Reeboks, but they rip off. Bishop saves Newt from getting sucked
flying out the airlock.
Yeah. And then
that half of Bishop.
Yeah, the half that had hands still. I would have liked if his feet half saved her.
That would have been funny. But his feet half couldn't have grabbed onto something.
That's true.
He does need his hand half to have
or like his
opposable
feet half
thumb.
Grabbed his leg half, and she grabbed his leg half.
Did you say his feet half grabbed his leg half?
The other way. Yeah.
His hand half grabbed his leg half, and she grabbed the leg. That would have been fun. Anyway, but no, this movie's too serious for that.
Yeah, the alien queen is gone. Ripley is victorious, and now we get our happy ending.
And they all go into hypersleep.
Yep. And
there's a really, really cute moment because Newt, up until this point, has been really bonding with Ripley.
Yeah, fuck, I forgot about.
She not only does she run up to her and say "Mama,"
well,
like, she calls her mommy. Yeah, she calls her mommy, which is fucking fantastic. Mm-hmm. But also, like, when they're getting ready to go into hypersleep in the stasis pods, she asks if she thinks she'll be able to dream during her sleep. And this entire time, she's been bonding with Ripley over their mutual nightmares about the things that they've seen. Mm-hmm. Then Ripley says to her, I think we'll both be able to dream. And it makes me so happy. And it's so sweet. And then they both get into stasis pods right next to each other. And it ends with the same style of shot that the first one does. With the shot of them in their stasis pods. And it's the stasis pods next to each other. And Ripley is smiling in her sleep. And it makes me so happy. It's so good.
And that's the Aliens duology.
Duet.
A duet.
If 4 is a quartet, then do is a duet.
Yeah, but what about, there's no, they don't call them triplets.
I don't know. There's got to be a name for it.
You gotta know.
I'll look it up.
It's Hollywood, that's why you just make it up.
Gross.
So anyway, yeah, but those are the 2 Alien movies. And I know you might be thinking, weren't there more? There weren't. That's it. We looked into it. It turns out that was a lie. We haven't really done an autopsy. I mean, we've been doing the autopsy, I think, the whole time, though.
Yeah, we kind of trend towards that, I think, when we really love a movie so much that we get so deep into it.
So I think we covered what we wanted to cover.
More or less,
been gushing about this movie. It's just great.
I fucking love it.
The movie had an $18 million budget, which is only $7 million more than the original. Opening weekend made $10 million.
Hell yeah!
Gross USA was $85 million, and cumulative worldwide gross was $130 million, which is less than Alien. Interesting.
Interesting.
It's 18 million 100.
I mean, its opening weekend was still
success.
more than 3 times as much as the first one, but I think that's probably because everybody wanted to know what happened after that. And it was such a good sequel. It has a wider appeal.
I mean, as much as I was trying to point out some of the horror movie aspects, it's not at its core. It's an entertaining action movie.
It is.
Which is nothing. It's still a good movie.
It's still fantastic. It just does not keep to as many of the conventions of the genre that would make it more of a horror movie. And if anything, I think
it hurts itself.
It hurt itself in its confusion.
As an Alien is so lauded that we talked about last week. Aliens, I mean, I don't hear a lot of people we're about to cover the reviews and people, it has higher scores. So maybe I'm just wrong.
I don't know.
I always see art critic people like Alien, and I don't hear Aliens talked about as much. Although apparently, if we look at Rotten Tomato, it's 99% fresh.
Damn.
I believe Alien was 98.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And then
audience score of 94, which I think is the same.
Which is the same. And then if we go on Metacritic, that's Aliens. The user score is higher too. It's a 9.
Huh.
But you know what? It doesn't surprise me. It's a more entertaining movie. It is. It's faster paced. It's not as groundbreaking. It's not as good a movie. But I will say it's more entertaining.
It is much more entertaining. And it does, it gives you that thing that the first one doesn't, where it really helps you to get attached to all of the characters. Like, the first one, I barely knew their names.
Yeah.
I didn't know very much about them. The only one I cared about was Ripley, And they do that for a reason, because obviously they're all expendable.
Yeah.
But in the end, they want you to care when the people die in this one, and so they build up your relationship to them, and they use that long bit of exposition that they had to really build character, as much as Alien was amazing, the characterization of each individual was fairly one-dimensional, except for Ash and Ripley.
Yeah.
Everyone else is just they're just another person, just another victim.
We call them body count Bettys.
Yeah, body count Bettys. But in this one, every single person had an incredibly unique personality, and their dialogue reflected that, and it really helped with that.
Yeah. Which
I loved. All right, so
normally we roll the bones. I would like to posit that we do a reset. Because this movie, we cheated this week.
A little bit, yeah.
And that we did a non-horror movie. And so I think I propose The Exorcist as a return to hardcore.
Okay.
We don't have to. I looked at the list we have, and that was the most iconic horror movie. We can wait.
It's so spooky. I'm going to feel this way about most of the things on our list, honestly.
All right, then I say we hit up The Exorcist.
Okay.
I've never seen it.
I've also never seen it, but it has a reputation, so okay.
Okay. So we will see you next week with The Exorcist.
Okay, and remember, guys, there's a lot of weirdos out there.
So we're not alone.